Hey, this is C&D Channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my Ultimate Fighter finale, 16 finale predictions. As a card, it's actually not too bad. You got guys like Dustin, Poirier, Melvin, Guillard, Rosario, Pat Barry, Jamie Varner, Mitrione, Nelson, recognizable names on the main card. The prelims got some good prospects, so I'm actually digging this card. So yeah, there's 12 fights as well. So let's just get started. Matt Meathead Mitrione fights Roy Big Country Nelson. This should be an interesting fight. The thing is, though, Mitrione's taking the fight on short notice. He does move well for his size. He does have heavy hands. And a pretty good chin, actually, but his takedown defense isn't that good. With Roy Nelson, his chin. He always pushes forward. He has a really good overhand right. He has a really good trip takedowns. I think that Nelson will be able to get this fight to the ground when he wants to. And if he's smart, he will. If it stays standing, you give more chance for Mitrione to win. So, but otherwise, I'm going to go with Roy Nelson to win this one. Okay, next fight after that, we have Mike Ricci versus Colton Smith for the Ultimate Fighter 16 final. Smith, he has a 3-1 record, and all 3 wins are by sub. He's 25 years old. With Ricci, he has a 7-2 record. 4 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub. He's 26, trains at TriStar, and is good friends with Rory McDonald, actually. I also remember him getting knocked out by Pat Curran in a, Pat Curran's like forever highlight reel. They always show him knocking out Mike Ricci. Otherwise, I always felt that Ricci was the favorite to win this season of The Ultimate Fighter, so I'll go with Mike Ricci to win this one. Okay, next fight after that, Pat H.C. Barry fights Shane Del Rosario. Del Rosario, Barry, his kickboxing is really good. His leg kicks are deadly. His grappling's improving, but his mental game isn't that great. I have to say. Guy kind of wilts. The jury's still out on Del Rosario. He did lose against Stipe Miocic, but he is a finisher. 11-1 record, 8 wins by KO TKO, 3 wins by sub. He's 29. He does have some good Muay Thai. He trains at Team Oyama, and he actually has a good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game. If he can get the fight to the floor, I can see him beating Pat Barry here. So I am going to go with Del Rosario to win this one. Okay, next fight after that, Melvin Guillard fights Jamie Varner. Definitely the fight I'm looking forward to here. Varner, ever since coming back to the UFC, beating Edson Barboza, kind of getting the upset win and having a great fight against Joe Lauzon. He's definitely found a newfound hunger. His boxing is solid. His wrestling is good. And his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is solid as well. Very solid fighter who's been in the game for a while. With Melvin Guillard, he has 1-punch KO power. Very explosive. He actually has some pretty decent takedown defense. He does fight with his hands down and he has really weak submission defense. I don't think Varner is going to take this fight to the ground. I think he might even have a hard time if he tries to. I'm going to go with Melvin Guillard to win this one. I think that he'll be able to beat Varner standing, but like I said, Varner's boxing is pretty solid. Okay, next fight after that, Jonathan Brookins fights Dustin Poirier. Gotta go with Poirier here. 12-2 record. His last fight was a Fight of the Year candidate against the Korean Zombie. He's only 23. He's training at ATT. His kickboxing is solid, and he does have good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Brookins, though, has a good wrestling game and a good clinch game. He's deceptively strong. He does use the lateral drop a lot as far as his takedowns go. His top control is really good. You can even see that against his fight against Michael Johnson. His striking's really weak, and his defense in particular is really weak. But he also has some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So he, depending on the strategy, he could maybe wrestle his way to a victory. But otherwise, I think Dustin Poirier wins this one. Okay, on to the prelim card, which will be on Fuel TV. Okay, James Head fights Mike Pyle. So one's really tough to call. James Head's a guy that's been really impressing me as of late. He beat Brian Ebersol in his last fight, and before that he beat Papi Abedi. He is really big for his weight class. He's a big welterweight, and he has some pretty solid boxing, decent wrestling too, especially with his size at this point. With Mike Pyle, this guy's a veteran with really strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, trains at Extreme Couture, showing some knockout power in his last 2 bouts against like Josh Neer and Ricardo Funch. He has some really good trip takedowns, and his striking is improving. So this one's kind of tough for me to call. I know that Mike Pyle did upset guy from the UK, John Hathaway. And, I think they're using Pyle as a gatekeeper type against these prospects. I'm going to go with Mike Pyle to win this one. I don't know if James Head. The verdict's still out on him, in my opinion. He's surprisingly a good prospect so far, but we'll see how he does against the experience of Mike Pyle. Okay, next fight after that, Marcos Vinicius fights Johnny Bedford. I think Viana, I think he's cutting to 135 for the first time. His record is 23 and with 1 draw, 7 wins by KO or TKO, 13 wins by sub. He is a total all of his wins are by finish. He's on a 4-fight win streak. He does have good striking and good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. With Bedford, solid fighter, not a great record, 18 wins, 9 losses, 1 draw. 6 wins by KO or TKO, 8 wins by sub, and 8 losses by sub as well. He's on a 2-fight win streak, and just a solid all-around fighter. I'm a bit curious to see how this fight goes, but I gotta go with Marcos Vinicius to win this one. Very curious though to see how this fight turns out. Okay, next fight after that, we got some prospects as Vince Patchell fights Rustam Khabilov. Both guys are making their first UFC debuts. Patchell, 7-0 undefeated record, and all 7 of his wins are by KO or TKO. He's 30 years old, and he's never been past the 2nd round. With Rustam, Russian fighter, trains at Jackson's, 14-1 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 5 wins by sub. He's 26 years old in his 3-fight winning streak. I believe he is a grappler. I'm going to go with Rustam Khabilov to win this one. And the final fight on the field card, we have Nick Catone making his drop to 170 as he fights Anthony Wongburger. Really good fight here, actually. Catone, strong wrestler, gonna be huge for the weight class. But with Wongburger, 12 of his wins are by submission. He's only 24 years old. Showed some improved striking against Brian Ebersol. He does get knocked out a good amount of times. 5 of his losses are by KO or TKO. But man, this guy has a really creative submission game. He's really good off his back. He's really good on top. He's great into scramble too. This guy into scramble is awesome. I can kind of see this fight going kind of like I can see Wongburger actually getting to submission, considering that Catone is a wrestling heavy fighter. So I can see Wongburger creating a scrambler and getting a submission. So I'll go with Anthony Wongburger to win this one. Okay, on to the Facebook prelims. Reuben Duran fights Hugo Wolverine Viana. Interesting fight here. Duran, trains at Alliance. 8-3 record with 1 draw. 3 of those wins are by KO or TKO, 4 wins by sub. He does have some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I believe he choked out Francisco Rivera, but the last time he fought was at June 2011. With Hugo Viana, he's making his cut to 135. He is a very small featherweight. 6-0 undefeated record. All 6 wins by decision. Very aggressive. Always pushing forward. Showed some good takedown defense in his last fight. You know what? I'm going to go with Hugo Viana to win this one. Okay, next fight after that, Mike Rio fights John Cofer. Kind of a pick'em fight for me. Rio, it's going to be his first fight in the UFC for Mike Rio. He has an 8-1 record with 4 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub, and he's on a 2-fight win streak. With Kofor, he has a 7-2 record, 1 win by TKO and 3 wins by sub. He's 28. He fought Justin Lawrence and got lost by head kick KO. Otherwise, though, I'll go John Kofor to win this one. And finally, definitely a sleeper fight here in the flyweight division as Timothy Elliott fights Jared Papazian. Papazian, 14-8 record with 1 no contest, 5 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. He also has 5 losses by sub. He's only 24. He has good striking, but his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has something to be desired. With Elliott, 8-3 and 1 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by sub. He's 25. And in the Dodson fight, he showed some pretty wild striking. Really tough fight for me to call, to be honest. Pick'em fight, honestly. Total pick'em fight. You know, jeez, tough one for me to call. I'll go Timothy Elliott to win this one. Papazian's making a cut to 125. I don't know. You know, he wasn't a small 135er. I don't know how that weight cut's going to affect him. That's pretty much it for my Ultimate Fighter 16 finale predictions. If you have any comments, just leave them below. That's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.